We have three women qualified to prevail upon Kevin. There's Sophie, Kevin's ex-wife and first love. There's Cassidy, Kevin's dearest friend, representative. And there's wedding singer who has an extraordinary head of hair and problematic songwriting abilities. Who might it at any point be? It's really not that large of a secret, since there's one lady, who This Is Us has reliably taken back to be involved with Kevin's disorder more than 6 seasons, and she's same lady whose story takes up over portion of this episode's running time. There is no bend finishing here. It's Sophie. For Kevin, it's forever been Sophie. Thus, finally, we can take care of this approaching inquiry, which is extraordinary information since Kevin Pearson is a limitlessly more fascinating person than this contrivance gives him credit for. What will be, and it is the last season of This Is Us. Kevin's pre-wedding romance with Cassidy, Sophie, or the wedding singer is revealed, as well as what it means for his eventual happy ending. Following last week's Rebecca-centric This Is Viewers episode set on the day of Kate's wedding, this week's episode brought us back to the night before the wedding, as the title suggests, to investigate the mystery behind Kevin's apparent amorous date. It may be Cassidy, Jennifer Morrison, Sophie, Alexandra Breckenridge, or the wedding singer, Ariel, according to the clues, Katie Lowes. The episode opens with Kevin, a grade school student, sitting in class on Valentine's Day to set the tone for the response. His days as a ladies' man appear to have started early, as he writes Valentine's Day cards and exchanges smiles with 3 different girls in his class. From then, we bounce back to the 3 ladies he might be torn between now, 40 years later, as the puzzle of his newest potentially game-changing romantic adventure comes together. Kevin, Justin Hartley, is plainly antsy the day before the wedding, ahead of the rehearsal dinner, but he compliments the wedding singer to deflect Kate's questioning about why. In response, Kate, Chrissy Metz, points out that Pearson kryptonite is hot singers on stage performing rock classics. It's how Jack fell for Rebecca. This revelation raises the idea that the wedding singer is Kevin's new love interest, despite fans insisting all week that it could never be a random new character. Even so, there's still a lot of show remaining. Cassidy then approaches Kevin, dressed to the nines in a black gown with white trim. They joke about for a while, then she leaves, and Kevin resumes his restlessness. Kevin is impatient about Sophie's arrival, as Randall, Sterling K. Brown, explains. Randall reminds him that she is a married woman. Kevin swears they're just friends, but as soon as he sees her enter the room from the other side, he becomes silent, the tension evident. He ends up agreeing to drive Sophie into town to look for replacement clothes after her luggage is lost at the airport. Kevin had leased an ancient convertible for Kate and Philip. Kevin takes down the "just married" sign, making it less awkward. The only place open in town is the dry cleaners, so Sophie uses a thrifting tactic she learned from her mother and begs for unclaimed garments. Sophie and Kevin get up on each other's life while they seek for a dress. Of course, she finds a gorgeous one that fits and is the ideal shade of green, and then go grocery shopping. Sophie tells that she is currently employed as a travel nurse. However, things progress into flirty territory, and the two make a pit stop at a winery on their way home. Sophie finally discloses that, despite all of her denials during the afternoon, she is no longer married. She's newly divorced. Kevin is taken aback and finds it difficult to answer. He's probably ecstatic, but he doesn't want to offend her. Sophie hints to the reasons surrounding the divorce as they wander around the vineyard, but she never goes into detail. This was particularly aggravating because it occurred shortly after Kate's engagement party, at which Kevin met Sophie's husband, who appeared to be madly in love. Sophie only seems to imply that she didn't actually love him. Sophie finally inquires about Kevin's relationship status. He claims to be locked in a poor routine, but he can't explain why. Sophie believes she comprehends. The inference is that neither of them can have a successful relationship because they have never moved on from each other. Sophie and Kevin exchange wistful glances across the fires that everyone has gathered around that night, until they ultimately make their way to Kevin's chamber without saying anything. Sophie takes his key card and enters before him, and they kiss at the end. Things start to heat up and get heavy. The clue Beth and Madison discovered was that the bra comes off. Sophie, on the other hand, unexpectedly comes to a halt when Kevin tells her that her hair smells the same as it always has. She admits that she has been carrying Kevin for far too long and that she does not want to go backward. Team Sophie plummets as she rushes out of the room. During the day, Kevin had a lighthearted but brief encounter with Ariel, the wedding singer. When Kevin goes to the pub that night after Sophie's 180, Ariel is there, and he sits next to her. Ariel orders him his normal drink, which she deduced from her day's observations, and then reveals song lyrics she'd written based on her other findings. The phrases appear to allude to Kevin's worry throughout the day as he awaited Sophie's arrival. Ariel scribbled them on a napkin Beth and Madison had discovered. Another puzzle piece has been found. Kevin departs from Ariel and returns to his room. He runs into Nikki, who admits to being flustered by Sophie and getting hit on through napkin poetry. Nikki reacts with a strange pinball metaphor and the suggestion that Cassidy is Kevin's person. Rejoice, Team Cassidy. Cassidy appears at Kevin's door, asking for assistance in unzipping her dress. She expresses needs to find a companion so she can rely less on Kevin as she changes into comfortable PJ in his bathroom. Kevin claims Nikki thinks they should be together when she reappears. Kevin has thrown himself at Cassidy in desperation for the second time this season, much to my dismay, since Cassidy deserves more, and even if they weren't endgame, it insults the true romantic connection they almost had and the platonic relationship they still have. Anyway, Cassidy claims that they were both hot messes when they met, and that despite the fact that they both figured things out, they're not the same person. Kevin grudgingly agrees once more, and the two express their gratitude for their friendship. Team Cassidy, regretfully, waved the white flag. Kevin goes to bed alone, despite the fact that he is surrounded by 3 ladies. Kate's wedding reception delivers 2 key dialogues that propel us into the great finale after the ceremony, speeches, and Rebecca's performance. First, Rebecca, Mandy Moore, notices Sophie's sadness and realizes it's because of Kevin. Rebecca believes the timing isn't right, because Kevin isn't ready for Sophie yet, but one day he will be, and if Sophie is still waiting for him then, he will be so amazing to her. Kevin, on the other hand, informs Randall about Sophie. Kevin reveals he's frightened of messing up again when Randall asks why he's depressed that she's single. Randall, like Nikki, reacts with a strange metaphor, but he ultimately insists that Kevin and Sophie make sense and that Kevin will not harm her again. So Kevin goes up to Sophie. She, on the other hand, insists on speaking before he can begin. She claims she has prayed for Kevin to mature for most of her life, and he is now the man she always knew he could be. They're both their best selves, at the right place at the right time, but she's terrified they'll revert to their old selves. Kevin needs to love her for who she is now, not who she was, and she wants to love him for who he is today. Kevin takes something from his wallet after pondering his reaction. It's a valentine he penned that day in elementary school, as revealed through a flashback. The teacher presented Sophie as a new student after he finished writing ones for the other females. Kevin quickly penned one for her. Kevin hands her the message in the present, stating he's always carried her with him. The two kiss, and the entire room erupts in laughter. As a result, the puzzle is complete. Kevin's future will be spent with his first love. Sophie was always the one. While some fans have complained that the outcome is too predictable for such a twisting program, the poetry of it fits perfectly. We have a Pearson College sweetheart romance, Randall and Beth, a Pearson stranger in a bar romance, Jack and Rebecca, a friend-turned-partner romance, Miel and Rebecca, a business romance, Toby and Kate, and lastly, a high school sweetheart romance, Kevin and Sophie. That pretty much covers all of the love story. Maybe now we can all have a Pearson love story that we can relate to. Here's to that, as well as the resolution of the true crime with sex mystery, and the other Pearson happy endings to come in the show's last 4 episodes.